What's up, guys? Okay, so my user ID or username for PS4 is JackMove916. Some of you guys have seen my drafts before. If you played PlayStation 3 this year, I didn't want to do any type of drafts, but I wasn't happy with the way they were done, so I decided to do it myself. So I want to show you guys how I do Marvin Bagley. Okay, I go to my computer. Okay, it's a little bright, and this is the mock draft I go by. Let's see if we can see the top up here. Now, everything I do isn't based off of my personal views. It's experts. So my first and my second round, a lot of the guys don't even do a second round. I do. It's all based off this. So for his face, I type in, let's see if we can get up here. I type in Marvin Bagley 3rd Duke basketball, and it'll come up images, where you can click on images. Now a lot of times the images though could be, you know, years and years ago, but you get an idea of kind of what he looks like. Now my favorite way though to do it is we come down here and you click on video results. Let's see here, boom. Okay, this video I was watching to get a more accurate jumper. Okay, so when I do the signature for jumpers, I watch one thing. Watch his lower. Okay, jump straight up, and then he slightly jumps forward and falls backwards slightly, and his feet stay together, and then he kind of, like I said, he'll kind of take a step back. Now let's watch his release. He kind of pushes both arms out, not really at a high release, not really at too low of a release. Oh, I went back a little too far. He's also left-handed, you want to note. Okay, he kind of holds his hand up there slightly a little bit on that one. He doesn't always do that. Now when you're doing that, when you're watching these videos, you got to take into mind, is he kind of standstill jumping, or is he kind of doing like a transition pull-up type shot? A lot of times when guys are doing transition threes, they'll kind of jump forward slightly, even though they don't normally do that. If they're doing a step back, they kind of fall backward a little more that they might not normally do. So that's how I do that. Now let's go back into this really quick. Okay, almost dropped the controller. Now we will go down to see how I did his signature jumper. Okay, now see, kind of jumping straight up again, slightly falls backward, about close to the same height too, as far as how high he gets up off the ground. And notice how his arms kind of swing forward, and he kind of holds it up there. I could give him a Steph Curry if he held his arm up real high like that every time, but I kind of like this one best. That is a Steph Curry, Kevin Love combination. And then free throws. Now I took this free throw off with some of the guys that do college rosters. Signature moves. I go and I write down signature moves of some of the top players, and then I go through like average, just core type players, and I write down the signature moves and stuff, post moves and whatnot. If you notice, a lot of them will have the same exact post moves. 10, 2, 5, 8, 4, they both, there's a few with those. Then there's a 7, 2, which is AD. So anyways, I found that there's kind of a pattern with a lot of their positional players. Bigs, point guards, shooting guards, they'll kind of have pretty much close to the same signature moves with certain ones, and then one signature move will be, you know, a little off, a 2, a 4, a 1. So that's how I do that. Now, I gave him Euro Specialist just because I like Bagley and he's real athletic. Now, when I've watched him Euro step, because I watch a lot of college basketball, he usually gets an offensive foul, but he can Euro step. I would probably, if I was doing it, you know, and you want to be a little more accurate, it would be long athlete probably for Bagley. And now, how did I do that? Well, look, you can't Euro step with a big guy. Okay, so what I did to get that is I went up here to his vitals. That's probably where I should have started for you guys. I gave him like point guard. Then I came down here to signature. Gave him Euro Specialist. Then I came back up here to vitals and put him back to power forward. Oh, okay, and another thing here, so real quick, vitals. Vitals is pretty much the same thing. The less and less that I get into my draft, like later first rounders and whatnot, I will actually give them less peak. You know, you can always change that if you feel, however, but that's how kind of, like, there's not many guys that have a peak to 35 except for Braun. So that's something to think about. Okay, and then these play type things, I have actually looked up to see what a lot of the other bigs have for here. You don't have to give him 3 points. He shoots 2 threes on average a game. He doesn't need a play type as a 3, okay? You give him threes, you give him the right tendencies, he's going to shoot threes anyways. I mean, look at all the bigs in NBA2K. They shoot threes, but if you look them up, they don't have 3-point play as a play type. So you don't need to give them that. They'll do that anyways. That's really not their thing. How did I get the correct birthdays? On my draft site right here. Okay, so on my draft site, we go up here to Marvin Bagley, click on his face, and they've got his height, his wingspan. They've even got a full scouting report. They comparison him to Chris Bosh, Chris Bosh, and I kind of disagree with that. I think he's more closer to Karl Anthony Towns. Okay, then to do attributes, I click on statistics and it comes up to the ESPN statistics. 30 minutes a game is usually pretty good for a big, so that's the equivalent usually to about, for me anyways, about, I would give him anywhere from 86 to 90 stamina. Field goal percentage, that's high. And you got to take in mind he's pretty much a post player, so that would give him a good close range ability. And then mid-range, I've watched him play. He does shoot a good mid-range, but he doesn't shoot it that often. 3 points, he's averaging 2 a game, and he's averaging 333. So usually when I'm doing 3-point percentage, I do 60 on the rating is the equivalent to about 25%. So 33% would be 8% higher. Well, to do that, then I go and I add, how did I do that? Let's see, so 8% higher would be 16, basically, is how I do it. So it's basically 2 attributes per cent. So 16 would give him right around a 76. And that would, I'd give him a 76 on his open 3. Now if he was a smaller guy, you know, that's a little more agile, I would give him an off jumper higher amount, you know, but he's not. Now he is athletic though. He's almost like a Kevin Durant in a way, you know, as far as athleticism goes. So I gave him a little more than I would a really slow, bigger guy. And then free throw percentage is pretty much explanatory. 60% right here would be a 60 rating. 10 or higher on rebounds, I usually give them right around 70 to 80. Assists, if they got any type of assists at all, 1 to 2. I usually give them around 40 to 50 passing. Oh, let's take the camera down. Right around the maybe 40-ish passing. Blocks. Every block that they get, or every steal that they can average per game, I start off with 60 for a rating, and then I give them like 3 attributes up every 0.1. So like 1.5 blocks a game, I would usually give them right around a 75 for an attribute. And then you also have to factor in tendencies and stuff like that for contest and all that other stuff too. And then personal fouls, for a personal foul tendency, he's really low with a 1.9. That's usually around 30 to 35 for me. The points, 22 points, I do to offensive consistency and tendency. 10 points is a 60 rating. 15 points is 70 rating. 20 points is 80 rating. 25 points is 85. So he should be right around an 82-ish or so. And then, so on. So like 30 points plus is like a 99. That's how I do the tendencies and all that. I've been doing this for a while, and I don't know, 5-6 years. I just started sharing them on PS3 a few years back, and I've had some pretty good results. People seem to like my drafts. So if you've been doing NBA 2K creation drafts, you might want to check out mine. You might be impressed. Okay, so now how did I get his face? So let's close this off where I got his jumper, and let's go to an interview here. A recent interview, if we can find one. This one's a month ago, so this isn't quite as recent. I found one that was a few days old, and I don't see it right here. So let's go to this one from a month ago. The more recent one, he doesn't have quite as much area. Okay. So the recent one, oops, dropping the camera down again. His recent one, he doesn't have quite as much mustache at all. And he's got a little bit more longer beard on the sides. And now his hair is taller than that. And his hair is not an afro. Let's go to this now right here. Okay, you can see, I think that this one's the closest. The nose is almost exact. See his nose right there? Now look at here. That is really, really close. He's kind of got the eyebrow thing going on there too. Pretty close, man. I mean, this is the best that I've been able to find. And you can see the goatee I picked. If he didn't have the little line coming up to the chin, I think this is the closest one. You can see how it kind of sticks out a little bit down there at the bottom. If that was wider, like the length part down there, that would be perfect. Ears, everything I think is pretty accurate with that. And then for his haircut, I decided to go with the fade, the mohawk fade. He has that, where it comes out in the back, but it's just really wide, and they don't have that style haircut. And I feel like this is closer than the afro cut. It's not really an afro cut, it's kind of like an afro twisty style, which I think is what this would be considered, but not necessarily mohawk. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think. But anyways, and then body. For the body, we got his height off of that site. Now wingspan. 40 wingspan to 42 is almost always 2 inches more wingspan than their height. Okay? You get around 50, that's about 4 inches. You get around 60, that's closer, to like 8 inches. I have put in so much detail into this shit to get you guys the most accurate everything. Wingspan, left hand, right hand, birthdays, everything. Body length is usually right around 30-ish. So I gave everyone that. They usually have If you look at them, like Embiid's really got the long legs, but usually these taller guys have a little bit kind of longer looking bottom. Okay, shoes here. His shoes change. He was wearing the style where it's kind of like a Nike, but you know, of course with Duke it's blue with white on the bottom and white Nike stripes, and then one game he's wearing black. So shoes or whatever, you can pick whatever you feel like. And then to get accessories, I just watch games. Hot zones, you really don't need to give them hot zones. What rookie has a hot zone in NBA 2K? So what I do is, when I'm playing my league mode, I give them hot zones after like a month of play or 2 months of play, like, you know, 10, 20 games, and then it's based on the hot zones that I've created for them. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's more realistic. Badges, I feel like 5 is the most that you should have. That's what they've given Lonzo Ball. They don't really give badges out a whole lot to rookies, because as you're playing league, your badges will build. Tendencies, I've gotten tendencies based off of looking through all kinds of NBA 2K rated players at his position for shot close and everything. Mid-range, guys really don't usually have mid-range a whole lot as bigs. Some of the more, like Chris Bosh, Ibaka, some of those guys that really shoot mid-range are still only like 30 or 40. Spot up, you know what spot up means. When they're standing still, get past the ball and they shoot. You're going to be mixing spot up shot with off-screen shot along with, where are we at here, drive. Okay, and that's what's going to give you, do they spot up and shoot it, or do they drive instead? So, I mean, I've looked into it. I've looked into articles by the, one of the, not creators, he's one of the designer guys, Dazar, and he did a big old article explaining how you should be doing basically tendencies. And for all of my tendencies, I have looked and done research on how NBA 2K rates rookies, how they rate just the average guy, you know, just role players, and how they rate stars to give you the ratings and the tendencies and the post up and everything. They usually do this exactly to 100 with post up, post back down, face up. Usually always equals out to 100. I shouldn't say usually, it always does. There was only one exception that I found that it didn't. Another one, let's see. So again, so I gave him 85 on shot. I could give him an 82 actually, but I guess I gave him an 85. Roll versus pop is pretty much explanatory. Transition spot up, he does, but he doesn't do it that often. Play discipline. Usually bigs are 70 to 90 on play discipline. It's usually the point guards, shooting guards that are usually low discipline. Pass interception and blocks. Again, I usually do pretty much based on my whole 60 rating is 1. But if you think about it, a big is more likely to get a pass interception than he is the on-ball steal. Fouls, I give him a 30 or a 1.9. That's about what I usually do for that. If they have closer to 3, 3.5, I'll give them 40, 45. Okay, so that's how I've done everything. You can see I put in work. Each player that I've created usually takes me like 30 minutes to 3 hours because I make sure everything's exact. In this draft, I have 85 players. My second round usually starts around 69 overall to 65. And then the guys that kicked out of my draft, like, you know, at some point, these guys might have been in my mock draft, and they got bumped out. So the guys that get bumped out get dropped down into basically undrafted, you know, free agents, which could be like practice squad players. And they're usually anywhere from 63 to 64s. Okay, well, that's how I do Marvin Bagley. If you guys are ever want to do your drafts, you know, I wouldn't recommend it. It's a pain in the ass. You're fighting with other people to get your draft up there, and they're always changing. The NBA2K18 is my favorite because it's updated every week or two, and the Bleacher Reports, ESPN, Draft Express, they're not even close to being accurate. But anyway, so I do check out like many different draft sites to give you what I'm giving you. I don't do it completely by NBA2K18 because I also use NBA Draft Room. So I will use my main draft as NBA2K18 will be my main, you know, draft that I go by. But if there's a few first rounders from Draft Room that NBA2K18 doesn't have, I usually add them. And that's my Trae Young right there. I think he's the more accurate Trae Young that I could find. A lot of guys give him spiky hair. He doesn't have spiky hair. He's got curly, kind of like an afro type looking hair. So, anyways, you can check out my drafts by going to Create Draft. And my drafts are up there, so you can find them. Got 4 nice ones going. Alright guys, sorry it took so long. Peace.